Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us, and welcome to our latest webinar. Today I'm joined by some colleagues from the Video-Enabled Policing Programme, and we're going to take us through where we're currently at with that programme and actually give you a demonstration of the product in action and the solution in action. So Steve Curry is joining us from the programme. Can you start off, first of all, by perhaps explaining what the VEP programme is doing for policing and take us through a little bit of the presentation?
So the Video-Enabled Policing Programme is a Home Office digital transformation programme being delivered through Police Digital Service. We're made possible through great collaboration from HMCTS and CPS colleagues, and importantly, we're seeking to leverage the police existing technology that's been invested in through the National Enabling Programme over the last 2 years. We're aligned to the NPCC custody and National Police digital strategy, so we're enabling officers through digital. So we need to leverage our existing technology to drive efficiencies for policing services. Part of that is around reducing custody hold times, reducing risk in custody, driving greater collaboration with our agency partners. And all too often we're seeing increasing demand, and particularly across force areas such as witness care departments. And as that demand grows, there is decreasing capacity to deal and focus on those vulnerable victims that need support being exacerbated through the court backlogs. Thank you. So let's get into the two solutions that we're delivering. Police witness coordination solution, very much about driving up remote witness testimony in magistrates and Crown Court trials for officers, making sure that officers are efficiently and effectively coordinated and released when they're not required, on the day of the trial, for example, when cases are cracked or ineffective and don't proceed. And also about creating capacity in our witness care units. And why is that important for national policing? Because, as I said, there is significant demand placed on those units. It's been exacerbated by the recent barrister strike, and we know that there's the possibility of magistrates' courts now being affected in industrial action as well. So looking at the second solution, PACE interview coordination, very much around driving up remote video PACE interviews, both in and out of force, remote video interpretation, and coordinating participants for interviews in the most efficient and effective way. And why is that important for national policing? Well, it very much supports the delivery of the national policing strategy for custody, reducing custody hold times, reducing risk in custody, but importantly addressing as well an area that's been highlighted by HMIC FRS enforced thematic custody inspections over recent years, which is that forces need to do better in accessing interpreters and thereby reducing unacceptable delays of some persons in police detention. And that's something that this solution will contribute to achieving. So we're going to then move forwards now and actually look at an animation of this solution that tries to bring it to life in a fun way.
Planning a detainee interview requires a wide range of moving parts to be managed. PACE suspect interviews lean on specific information for each detainee, multiple parties being available at the same time, and a location to accommodate all of these needs. Arrangements can easily fall apart if one of the participants is suddenly unavailable. The whole process of coordinating and communicating with participants has to start again and again and again until perfectly aligned and the interview can be scheduled. The PACE IC app provides a simple, fast and reliable platform through which to streamline the whole process. Custody staff, officers, legal professionals and interpreters can now spend less time making phone calls and use the app to save time and simplify processes. PACE IC makes planning, booking and running interviews simple. No more waiting around for available rooms. No more second-guessing third parties. No more wasted time calling and recalling everyone involved. An easy-to-use solution designed to make the process of interview scheduling and coordinating quicker and more accessible for everyone. The PACE IC app will facilitate access to information, contact with relevant parties, clear status updates and bookings, all in one place. As soon as the investigating officer is allocated the case, utilising access to information that will have been input at the point of processing. Is the detainee fit for interview? Have they requested legal representation? Do they need an interpreter? All of this information is available at the fingertips of the investigating officer, who will then select the requisite criteria for the interview. Now it is clear which professionals will be required. All parties can be looped into the process via the app. In-person or remote availability can be confirmed. Custody rooms can be scheduled to the next waiting interview, as all participants have marked their readiness in the app. What's more, the app, along with the custody dashboard, will give everyone a clear view of the progress of each individual interview. Email prompts, reminders, confirmations and so on will all be sent automatically to the relevant individual to keep the process running smoothly throughout. The PACE IC app reduces risk in custody by reducing the footfall and the time spent in the custody suite, reduces custody holding times. It simplifies coordination for officers and custody staff and lets some participants attend virtually, lessening waiting times and making the whole process more efficient. The PACE IC app, interview coordination simplified, reduced phone calls, less waiting, more time saved, less risk in custody.
A demonstration of the PACE interview coordination solution from our colleagues, Inspector Nicola Fisher and Chief Inspector Jonathan Baldwin. Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask Nicola to share her screen, and this is the actual solution in live time. Now, we are reliant on the internet, and sometimes it can be a bit slow. So for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to bounce between the live solution and some screenshots that we've taken. So I wouldn't want to mislead you by suggesting that this is absolutely whizzing along at sort of nanosecond speed, but ultimately it is an extremely effective and stable solution. But we have got those just in the background for you. So I'm going to hand over to Nicola now and just walk you through what an officer in custody would see if they were coming to PACE IC right now in Stevenage or Hatfield. Nick, over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Hatfield.
Okay, thanks very much, Toby. So the application, this is the front screen that they will see, and this is all via their Teams account. So it's not a separate solution I'll have to log into. Officers will all have this available to them, and they'd start inputting this information at the point they're ready to organise their interview. So the detainee has been booked into custody and they know that interview is going to happen. First thing they need is their custody number. So I will just put in a custody number now, and they've got the option to create a new record. So I won't go through and input all the data here. I've pre-populated so that we can save some time, but just to show you the limited information they need for this, it is a really short process. The custody centre, so they have the ones that are available for their force. Interviewing officer, they will all be on the system as well. Here, this is to indicate whether or not the interviewing officer is remote. So for if you've got an officer either interviewing for another part of their force or actually conducting an interview with someone who's detained by another force, we just need to then put who is our escorting officer on that, because we'll need to have someone with the detainee. So it gives the option to do that here. And then we've got our people here that might be required. So we've got legal representative, appropriate adult and interpreter. Now the appropriate adult, if they're under 18, it will automatically have the need to complete the appropriate adult details. And the interpreter, if the interpreter is selected, there is another option there for the language, but also to whether or not the interpreter can attend remotely. So all of that information will be on here. Just going to go now to the dashboard just to show you the different stages of the information that will be here. So the dashboard is going to be available to interviewing officers, custody staff, anyone within force, and it can be filtered between the different custody blocks in that force. So we'll go with Hatfield. So This one at the top here, we've got James Cross. We can see that there's a legal representative needed, but not an interpreter or a. The reason they're greyed out is because they're not required for that interview. If I click on legal representative, I can see that it's Jonathan Baldwin is actually the legal representative. I can see their email address and contact number on there. We can see also that we've got a remote interviewing officer, and we can see the escort details. And now we've set here a target time for the interview, and we can see that the consultation is pending. So this interview here, we're waiting for that legal representative to confirm. Anything on the dashboard with green means it's actually moved on in the process. So here we can see this interview only requires an appropriate adult, and the appropriate adult is already at custody, and we can see that an interview time is confirmed. So it's a really nice overview for any custody staff, review inspectors. They can see all of this information and see how everything is progressing. I'm going to switch over to Jonathan now, because he should have received some email communication on this detainee that he's been required to represent. So I think, Jonathan, if you've got the application and to show from your solicitor's view.
Absolutely. So this, I'm just going to show this is actually live as well. So I'm in the availability area as a solicitor. I've had a proposal come through to me for a selection of times, and it's pending. So I can go on to select my availability, and I can do this on a phone or on a desktop. Just wait for that to spin around and give me my availability requests. So essentially what the system does is it sends me an SMS to my mobile phone, and it also sends me an email, which allows me to then click into my own web portal and then respond to the request. It's independent of anything else. Here are my times available. So I now deselect those times I'm unavailable to attend. So I'm saying I can make the custody suite at 11:45, and I simply press confirm availability. And that will then ask me to confirm my availability, the interview time being confirmed shortly. That will be from Nicola's dashboard end. And I've also got an opportunity here to select whether I want remote disclosure. Now, within the custody environment under the COVID era, we found that remote disclosure principles were applied far more frequently by officers simply because it was easier. But what we've tried to do here is embed within the solution a long-term sustainable option for a behaviour change. So we can actually share with solicitors in advance via either email or otherwise by agreement with the solicitor right at the outset of the solution as to whether they want to have disclosure remotely prior to attending, so that when they turn up in our custody suites, the time spent in that consultation period is reduced. So I'm going to say that I do want remote disclosure. I'm going to save that, and I now have my summary screen. It tells me all the stuff that Nicola's just run through. The only thing that we're waiting for is the pending time to attend. I've got the officer's details here, which is another important bit of feedback that we got from solicitors, that oftentimes it's contact between the interviewing officer and the stage at which the arrangements for the interview are just unseen by the solicitor. And this is what takes multiple phone calls through the custody suite generally, and the ping pong that goes on with people trying to get clarity. The beauty of the solution is that it tells everybody simultaneously where everybody else is at within the coordination process. So I also have a button here that I can click as I arrive at the custody centre. Another bit of feedback from operational staff and partners was that they can have an appropriate adult sitting in the outside waiting area and not even know they've arrived because the person on the front desk is dealing with something else. As soon as the individual clicks I have arrived, that sends everybody a notification to say that I, as a contributor to that interview, I'm on plot, I'm ready to go, and everybody gets that simultaneously. So I'm just going to click that as well. So then I confirm that I've arrived at the custody centre. I get an update that my arrival has been confirmed, and now we move into a consultation phase. And what I'll do is I'll hand back to Nicola so you can see now what's actually happened in the background. The other interesting thing to note, and I can't show it on the phone, you can probably see I've just had it come through on my phone that I've got an SMS, and within that SMS it actually says you're a legal rep in a custody interview, please attend Hatfield. Gives me the time of the attendance that I've got to be there, and also a web link that if I don't have access to a desktop as I have at the moment, or a laptop, because I'm walking from my car to the custody suite, I can actually access it via a web link on my phone. Back over to you, Nicola.
Yeah, and as an interviewing officer, you would get those messages as well. So I would also have an email and SMS to say that my solicitor's confirmed that they're at custody. So you can see here, legal reps confirmed. It should shortly change to arrived at custody as well. So we'll just give it a chance to do that. And while I'm doing that, I'll just show you. So this person here has got an appropriate adult at custody. Normally an interview room is released when a consultation with the solicitor is concluded, because that's the point when the interview will start. But if you've got no legal representative, then we need another point at which that the interview room can be released when that interviewing officer is ready. So if I just click into this one, this could be a custody staff or interviewing officer. If they just click ready now, and then yes, that means that they'll get in the queue to get their room allocated. So if I go back to the dashboard and we'll just refresh, and that should so this one's awaiting room assignment and position 1. I'll just check with your one, JB. You clicked the arrived at custody, haven't you? So we should get that soon.
Yep. So in the background, what this also does for officers is it actually schedules the use of a room. So whilst this is all going on, the system automatically, because we've pre-populated the solution with the number of interview rooms in a certain area. So for example, in Hatfield, where they have, sorry, go on. I
was just going to show the screen where we can the custody sergeant. So these are the rooms allocated to Hatfield. If they needed to put a room out of use, then they can do that really easily. So if someone's been unwell in a room, it needs a deep clean, then that room can be put out of use. Or if they needed to reserve it for a particular interview, then they could do that as well. It also gives them the ability to indicate whether or not the room's got a remote capability. And what happens is when those rooms are allocated, they'll be allocated on the need for remote capability. So if they need a remote room, that will be allocated to them. If they don't, that will be the last room to be allocated.
And I think that's a perfect opportunity with that segue to go into our final slide, Deck, for Steve to pick up in terms of what that actually looks like once you've got the interview coordinated, everybody's on plot and a room has been assigned. And let's say in this example, they're going to have a remote attendance of the language service provider. The next question that officers and staff, and I'm sure you'll be thinking, is, well, how do we actually do that in a safe way and introduce a video interview into a secure custody environment? So I'm going to share back on the presentation.
Steve, back to you.
Thank you, David, and thank you to Nicola and Jonathan for that demonstration walk through the PACE interview coordination. And what you heard Jonathan referencing in his final comments was that the programme has tried to solve the problem, which is how do you video enable a police interview room in a safe way? And actually what you can see there and in the middle picture is a prism which was demonstrated at the National Policing Conference, Custody Conference on the 8th of September up in London to custody commanders. So it is a roll steel prism which houses in this case 2 HB slices. You can see the interviewing officer's view on the right hand side and the detainee's view on the left hand side, but would enable remote video PACE interview for a police officer to interview from another station as provisioned for in the codes of practice, or indeed for a remote video interpreter to appear. So this has been designed and will be installed in both Hatfield and Stevenage when Hertfordshire Police go live with a solution on the 1st of November. Thank you, David.
So Steve, thanks for that. And I think it's worth really just focusing on that enabling technology a little bit more around the 365 element. So what should forces be doing now to get ready for this?
So you're absolutely right. There is a key requirement of dependency on all forces that are going to adopt the solution to have rolled out the National Enabling Programme's M365 infrastructure and tools to the common blueprint. That's the genius thing. That's what's enabling that massive sort of some £58 million worth of investment from Home Office and forces across the country over the last 2 years is enabling these solutions, these power apps to be developed to utilize those tools to innovate and drive efficiencies. And so really important that those forces have completed that journey and have that infrastructure in place.
Thanks. So what are the next steps for the programme? Where is it currently being used, and where would we be going to next?
Well, our journey has always been to, in threefold really, to design and build the solutions. Both of those solutions have been built. The next phase is to deploy those solutions across our model implementation forces and carry out the necessary business change. And then thirdly and finally, and most importantly of all, to leverage the benefits that we've modelled for both solutions, quite considerable benefits, both cashable and non-cashable for policing. So we're at the stage now on the 1st of November, we will deploy to Hertfordshire Police for the PACE interview coordination solution, both in their Hatfield and Stevenage custody suites. We will then be rolling out the police witness coordination solution again, which has been built on the 21st of November to Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire that share a co-located, collaborated police witness care unit, and then to Surrey Police, the police witness care, police witness coordination to their witness care unit on the 28th of November, Sussex for the same PwC solution on the 6th of December, and then through January, February and March, we roll out to Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and finish with Surrey and Sussex for the PACE interview coordination solution. So by the 31st of March, we'll have completed our model implementation phase. We will then present a report of finalised benefit realisation report to our Home Office colleagues who have funded the programme, and then ready ourselves for the national rollout. And the national rollout next financial year will cover a further 17 forces across 2 6-month tranches. And you know, when the programme concludes in March 2024, other forces that wish to consume the solutions will be able to do so directly through PDS as their catalogue as a consumer of the service.
That's fantastic. So we've got some questions coming in. So if you've got any more questions or comments, please pop them in and I can pop them through to Steve. And you can see that those of you watching us live, they are being answered live time as well by the remainder of the team. I'll start you off with one of the easy ones first of all, Steve. Are the tools being developed going to be compatible with niche?
So there's no, at this stage, there is no intention within the PACE interview coordination solution to integrate that with niche. So the process actually starts once it's been determined, you know, if the detainee requires legal advice, requires an interpreter or defence solicitor, and that information is input, and it's that point the coordination of that interview and participants takes place. We considered it at the outset of the programme, but the different RMSs that forces use across the country in terms of actually being able to develop a minimum viable product that we could be able to realise the benefits. It's something that was ruled out of scope. Thank you.
Thanks. And a nice question here from Matt from Thames Valley Police about can the notifications be facilitated through Teams as well instead of SMS for the officers, because sometimes the mobile signal can be a bit of a challenge in custody suites. I know that from my experience as well.
Yeah, so the technical architecture has been through around SMS or email. So as long as staff and colleagues both internally and externally have that detail, they'll be able to receive those messages.
And again, throughout this programme, we've been working really closely with our colleagues in forces and in custody suites to actually build a solution that's with them, and you know, they're shaping the way that it works.
Yes, I mean, you know, we've been very, very lucky to have had the engagement from 4 subject matter experts. You know, our product owner for this solution, Jason Richards, you know, has extensive custody experience, as does Nicola Fisher. Jonathan Baldwin was seconded to the programme from his position as the Essex custody commander. So forces have supported the programme to make sure that we get this right. You know, the reality is this, is that the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, PACE Codes of Practice, has enabled and made provision for remote video PACE interviews for a police officer to interview from another station, and also for remote video interpreters. But we just haven't advanced, we haven't innovated, we haven't dealt with some of the challenges to enable that. And I think we're at the stage now, quite an exciting stage, to have some real transformation that will bring some real efficiency to custody, will make investigations quicker, and will reduce those custody hold times.
That's fantastic, Steve. Now, if you've got any more questions, please pop them in the chat and we'll pass them on to the team. But Steve, would you be able to come back to us in a few months' time and give us some updates and possibly bring somebody in from the custody teams who've been using it so we can share that experience on?
We'd be delighted to, and I think, you know, it'd be an excellent opportunity. We'd love to have done it today, but within sufficient time, we'd love to come back and actually demonstrate the police witness coordination solution, and be able to come back as an update to say how that's impacting and creating capacity in witness gainers. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, and those half hours do fly by, as we all know. So just what's coming up in the next few weeks in terms of our events. Obviously, we had the football use case webinar a couple of weeks ago. We've got the promised workshop coming up on the 18th. A webinar on our commercial frameworks, again, another way you can help us understand what's going on, is on the 19th. On the 20th, we're going to have a busy week that week. We're over to GMP for our in-person event. Invitations are landing in inboxes now for those people who've been registered to attend that. So please do join us if you're doing that. And if you do receive an invitation and you've got the ticket for it and you can't make it, let us know. We've got a huge waiting list of people who want to join us to get involved. Obviously, there's always more events on our events website. We are going to take a break from live webinars on the half-term week due to staff availability, mainly me, but we will have be straight back after with a new program of them. And again, if you've got any questions around what you've seen today and want to know more and how well your force is progressing on this, please do get in touch with us using the form that's on the screen now. You can scan that QR code, get in touch with us, and we will pick up on the stuff to help you move on. This is just another fantastic example of how we've been able to use the 365 platform to move things forward. I really want to thank Steve for joining us and the team in the background. The live demo, which we did cheat on a little bit, but don't worry about it, is really powerful to actually see these products in train. And it being on the familiar technology, it's not difficult to get used to grips with this, because we are all now familiar with 365 and beginning to see more and more of the impact of it. So thanks for joining us again today. Hope you can join us next week, and remember to please share these recordings on with colleagues once they go live. Share the recording on so that more people can understand what's coming down the line and help shape the future as we deliver the National Digital Technology Strategy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.